doing good.
Pretty good, man. I love the fish posters in the back. That's sick.
I was just gonna make a comment on that.
Yeah, there's a few of them. I mean, there's some other bands, right? We got some King Gizzard. I've got like a Wilco test print. I got some Billy Strings. I got some memorabilia from Hot Doug's, which is a hot dog shop in Chicago.
Oh,
Some other things, but I have a ton of posters and a ton of like music art. So these like kind of rotate out every once in a while.
Are you a collector? Like even outside of the car world, do you collect memorabilia and trinkets and things like that?
Yeah, I'm like a border, like on the edge of a hoarder.
yeah, we all are.
Yeah. So, I got a lot of mopeds. I got a lot of bicycles. I got a few motorcycles. I got some poster collections.
Oh, sick.
I've got there's like a whole collection of Transformers. There's a whole shelf of that. I got.
Sick.
I went down like a little bit of a Voltron thing for a minute. I pulled back from that. Luckily, like the universe isn't that deep, so couldn't fall too far down the hole. But
does that translate to cars, or have you kept it neat and tidy in the garage spaces?
I've pulled back, probably a bit, right? Because I think just time to work on cars, right? And time to drive cars and all that stuff. So I mean, I still have 10 cars or so.
Oh, geez, that's pulled back.
I think maybe I just scaled to a point and then I stopped, right? So
well, dude, it's been a while. So I'm looking back, and it's gonna feel crazy to say this out loud. I've been thinking about it since I heard we were doing this call. I met you in 2015. My first Gridlife experience, Gingerman Raceway, with the media company I was working for at the time, shooting some video there, and to think it's now 10 years later is
wow. Yeah.
Is first of all, I feel old, but how's that feel for you looking back all this time?
Exhausting, maybe is the word.
Accurate.
That's one of the words. I mean, you're catching us in kind of the thick of the final sprint towards Midwest, which is still our biggest event of the year.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like attendees, it's like there's other events that are getting closer, but just the nature of Gingerman as a facility, because it's kind of just a racetrack and a farm field.
Right.
It's a lot more work for this event, right? Because we have to bring all the pieces in and like all that stuff. But to think. I mean, it's been 12 years, since Gridlife's inception, and 22 years since we've been like started producing events at Gingerman specifically. So it's crazy. It's like it's hard when you're like in the sprint to like reflect, but like to just think about like how big the community and the ecosystem and the economy and like all that stuff that like has been flowed through or been connected to Gridlife is crazy.
It shocks me you mention, well, I mean, not super shocking, but I am a little surprised to know Midwest is still the biggest.
It's the biggest as far as like lift and work.
Oh,
okay. So I mean, it is like it's home base, right? So it's always been kind of the test bed for stuff. It always gets like a lot of the energy because it's comfortable.
Definitely.
Too, right? And now like our season's expanded a little bit, but still not that much in front of Midwest, right? So we had CMP already this year, then we had the Road Atlanta, our triumphant return to Road Atlanta. But normally, like, there's not much that comes before it, right? So like you're kind of digging in. The season ends in November. You're like, what are we doing? You've got a whole bunch of planning, a whole bunch of strategy, inevitably like whatever changes you want to put into play. Right. And then you're running, and the first thing you're running towards is Midwest. So the result is that it gets the energy,
Yeah. So how was it going back to Atlanta and kind of being right there all over again?
It was great. I mean, I think it's honestly, it was like kind of the right way to return. I mean, I think without like elaborating too deep into the story of Atlanta, we had 4 years there, ultimately. It was us who like kind of initiated the separation with that event, which we never really like commented on it too much. It wasn't like we scorched a bridge or anything, but it was a hard event to do, particularly that last year, and then that was 2019 was the last time we were there. We came out of that event, and said, hey, we want to like at the very least redo the terms of how we're producing this event together. And then COVID happened. We had launched Colorado at that point, so it was just like kind of, hey, that's it. Our drivers have always wanted to return there. We've never really had a desire to like return there in the same capacity. Like it's a and like bring like a full festival. Like getting those off the ground at this point, like anytime that we commit to like a new festival, it's just a lot of work, right?
No
Because
doubt.
the amount of details that we put into like what we produce, the amount of stuff that happens behind the scenes is like a ton of lift. But this I've had like a really good relationship with a lot of people from the FD side as far as their team. And Sage and I, like through pandemic and even beyond, we're like just casually always kind of connecting and talking about how is there any opportunistic ways for us to work together, anything that makes sense. So nothing particularly formal, but always like kind of in the back of our minds. And then the opportunity kind of came. It got presented to me by Andy Luck from their team.
Nice.
When I was out there last year, it was like, hey, do you think you could fill the space, like, and I was like, I think we could fill the space.
Yeah.
And then like just kind of the conversation kept going from there, ultimately resulting in kind of the this first year. So it's a long-winded answer with a little bit of a backstory, but it was really good to be back at Road Atlanta, and it was actually really great to be back in that capacity where we weren't kind of Atlas holding the entire world up, right?
Was it borderline, the festivities of Midwest down on the south side, or not quite? Was it more of a
No, it's
approach?
I mean, yeah, I mean, if we go all the way back to like 2019, like we've just matured so much as a organization, right?
Mhm.
So like, I mean, not that we came onto the scene, organically building, all the way back. 2014 was the first year that we like did an event, right? So, you were there year two,
Yep.
and then that was like, oh, HPDE with time attack and some drifting, and more serious than that, but like, we kind of came out of nowhere. We had been producing, track days for a decade at that point, but just even as we like evolved to the point of like 2019, where that was the first year that we did GLTC, so we had our wheel to wheel series, we had we had time attack, which had grown quite a bit, and now you like fast forward to now, it's like as far as like the way we present motorsports, our stream, like how robust the motorsports offering is, how seriously, like, not that we didn't take it seriously, but like how much we've dialed and refined it and and professionalized it. It's just moved so much further from the last time that we were at that piece of pavement. So we're able to produce like a really strong show without having to like necessarily bring a concert into the mix, because the motorsports is that good.
Hell yeah. And you've always had a pretty strong presence of like the car show side. I mean, a lot of our brand, I'd say some of our brand focuses heavily on like car show stuff. Where do you think that falls into the mix when you're putting together, be it a festival or be it just a big motorsports event? You see more and more of them now have this show aspect to the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean the term motorsports festival was not a term, like when we began, right? And now, it's a term that's probably overused in some
Definitely.
cases, right? So and the market's way more crowded. There's kind of a post-pandemic event bubble, that we're still in a little bit, in regards to that. So like, I think, all the different events have like different weights of like, some are like a car show first, right? And then they have like drifting, or what they'd call a motorsports element that's like,
Right.
25% of the experience, or, a smaller piece. And there's like our our core competency is still motorsports, right? And the motorsports that we produce. But the car show element is still like a very important piece. And it also like varies from event to event, right? Like, so some events have like a real significant focus on it. Lime Rock, for example, right? The Circuit Legends event. So like that event is like the concourse is the jewel, right?
Hell yeah.
There's no concert there, but we have like a pretty ripping karaoke party on Saturday night. But like that car show piece is the heart and center of it, right? So everything is like, that's kind of the center of the spoke of the wheel. Or like motorsports and the concourse are equally presented, and then like Midwest, for a variety of reasons, that's like probably a 25% of the experience if you're going to get like detailed about it, just because of space and some things like that. But it's super important for it to never be isolated, for it to always be like in the heart of things, and to have all of the different aspects of kind of car culture, like where you're coming from, like represented, if not equally in the same size, equally in the same presentation.
Nice.
If that makes sense,
Yeah, I like that.
So I know that a lot of, thinking about Gridlife and thinking about, maybe expanding, a lot of areas do have racetracks that, maybe aren't as close to the nearby cities as people would hope. How do you deal with that, and like getting people to still come out to the racetracks to enjoy the car show and the driving, when sometimes the events and racetracks are maybe like 2 hours from like like local civilization?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, for sure. I think like with Gingerman's like kind of, it's like 2 hours from a bunch of stuff, but it's not close to anything, so it's 2 hours from Grand Rapids, it's 2.5 from Detroit, it's 2.5 from Chicago, it's 3 from Indianapolis. So you've got a lot of places you can pull from. And also, Midwest is a little bit more weatherproof, a little bit more travel proof than some of the other areas of the country, I think. What we've found is that, there's kind of 3 different levels of racetracks that we would consider operating at. And that's mostly because the motorsports and like the facility like dictates what we will do, or what we're going to bring our motorsports to, right? So we can't really run on ovals. We can't do skid pad things, like we need proper road courses and, additional infrastructure, right? So that like kind of narrows down the options right off the rip, and then there's, kind of 3 levels of tracks. There's, I guess, what you would call like a farm track, which is Gingerman's a great example of it. So you're like, hey, pretty good racetrack, basic infrastructure, a little bit further out, good place for the track day, So there's those, which are all can be considered, but then we have to bring more stuff, and they're usually a little bit further out, and then there's like club tracks, which would be like an Autobahn or a Thermal or something like that, where they've got, a lot of the condo properties or like newer tracks. So I would consider that. And then there's pro tracks. So what we've found as we've matured, for better or worse, is that those farm tracks and those club tracks sometimes are a little bit harder for us to produce at these days, because of the level of what we produce. So, and the pro tracks, your Lime Rocks, your Lagunas, your Road Americas, all have kind of their own gravity on their own. So it's like kind of the combination of the experience that we're bringing, plus the bucket list nature of that facility and its name or nomenclature within, the automotive communities, that makes it kind of work. If that makes sense.
Definitely.
So, but it is hard, right? Like, especially like too, as there's more events out there at different scales that are all kind of presenting themselves in similar fashion, and some of them are like right in the heart of city center, and they're like a motorsports festival, and it might have like a drift skid pad type thing that would be their motorsports,
like autocross,
or something along those lines, right? But not like like a full like a GLTC level presentation of club racing, or a spec series like Rush, or full course high speed drifting like we do. So it does get there is a bit of envy to be like, oh man, if we could pop up and just do it at a smaller facility with like less infrastructure and less or like less overhead and less complexities,
Right.
like right in the middle of like a metro area, that
Yeah.
that might be a little bit easier.
Rather than trying to stream in 4K and have all your media guys upload footage on like Starlink.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just had a
been there.
Starlink. Yeah. We just had a Starlink conversation today.
Oh, no
So,
way. Right on
yeah.
time.
That's
So-
hilarious. All right, so I guess we got some random questions we could probably throw at you.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know. I got the most random
Oh,
questions.
what
Well,
That's okay.
this one's not as crazy, but okay. If you could take Gridlife to any country in the world, and I'm gonna say other than Japan because I feel like that's gonna be the one. But what country would you take it to?
Australia like comes to mind, right? One because it's like it's like a little bit of like an easier like just language translation, like and culturally, it's got so many similarities,
Yeah.
right? And like there's a lot of stuff that I look at from afar, and like even from the wheel to wheel stuff, like GLTC, I remember like watching videos of Australian improved touring or super touring, right?
Hell
Which
yeah.
was like there's some videos of like the EG Civic versus the AE86 battle, and
Yeah.
and things like that. So all those things are like inspirational and like how we built the motorsports that we present, so the thing about like about Gridlife, that maybe makes it a little bit more difficult to like bring to other countries is, if we think about the motorsports stuff, it's that the motorsports things are all like community built, right? So like, you're building a car specific to the rules, you're building a car like with the community as a whole. So it kind of takes a while. You have to like plant a seed and grow the garden.
Yeah.
So that's like one of the things I think about because we have had like opportunities and we have been asked, kind of this thing like maybe a few steps beyond hypothetical, of like being able to like globalize it. And I think the way we would do that is like present it a little bit differently, but yeah, I think Australia, maybe UK, like Brands Hatch.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Just as a track, like it's like, man,
Dude, that's so
like
cool.
yeah, just thinking about that, but at the end of the day, if we like boil Gridlife down, like the idea is like the celebration of any grid anywhere, focused a little bit more on road racing, which is our core passion, but like it could definitely globalize. It would just take probably like a little bit of a different form and kind of be something that serves the culture of like that particular area versus us just like transplanting the things that we built for North American car culture, which was
Right.
very much built specifically for
Yeah.
the types of
It
cars,
is
the types of people that
Uniquely
are here.
American. Specifically, you touched on something there that kind of caught me. The people building things for certain rule classes. You guys have very unique rule classes. I know with my other employer and some partners, you guys did the Model 3 Challenge for a few years, and then that's
Yep.
a very niche class. And then your unlimited class is one of a kind in some ways, where a lot of sanctioning bodies and race programs, they don't allow some of the stuff that you guys allow in unlimited. Can you break down what isn't allowed in unlimited at this point?
I'm probably not the best person in
Fair
the org
enough.
at this point to get into that level of technical detail. I mean, like, so the intention of unlimited, right, like is a little bit more of a line of purity from Japanese time attack, right? So it's
Hell
intended like unlimited cars to be officially an unlimited. They have to be start as a chassis, right? So they can't be tube frame.
Right.
There's like some tube frame elements that you can put into it, and like again, nobody take this as the rules. 'Cause I don't want to misspeak, and the community is feverish about details.
Yeah, someone's looking for a loophole as you speak.
100%, but suspension pickup points or like the location, geometry has to remain the same and some things of that nature, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty close to like properly unlimited. We do have super unlimited as a class that sits above that, and that's intended to be kind of a catch. Mostly it was for factory built race cars or prototype cars, like your LMP cars and things of that nature, so that unlimited remains a builder series, first and foremost, and then there's also still a place for vehicles that come from that factory pedigree that are still able to that are still able to compete. But yeah, I mean, there's talking about like unlimited, like the closest thing is like we think about like Pikes Peak hill climb cars and things of that nature, right? Like there's crossover there when it comes to like thinking about what's unlimited and those types of things. But like, yeah, I think that the biggest two rules is just it's supposed to start as a real car.
I love
or like
that, honestly.
like an actual chassis.
Yeah. Not some go-kart you built in your garage and slapped a jet engine on it. It has to be a car.
Correct. Yeah. But there's still a place for those those cars to play in the ecosystem, but not necessarily like that Japanese time attack lineage that Unlimited was built from.
Right. I think that opens the door to a lot of American innovation, or like North American innovation. For example, Mountain Pass Performance is Kells, DRS now, and like hybrid electric drivetrain, like so hard to class where it would typically race. And now we'll be hopefully joining you at Midwest and Lime Rock ? When we get an engine. But it's been really cool to see. Just it's something I never really considered before, being kind of like side by side with these guys in motorsports. It's like, where do you race these insane creations? And I think that's what makes Gridlife so unique in that sense, is you can come to that one event and see all these disciplines, including the craziest level of some psycho's garage project that's now shattering track records.
Yes,
cool. Started 100%. Off as a chassis, ended up as
borderline formula car. It's cool.
Yeah.
So what would it take to get Gridlife International? Is it something you've given thought to? Is it something that has to stay under wraps maybe for the time being?
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly like time and resources and brain power,
Honestly, fair.
With all honesty, So like the thing that's also interesting about like how we've had to operate as we've matured is as the boat gets bigger, so to speak, there's more things that moves affect, right? Like, so when Adam and I started this in 2014, I was like, hey, wouldn't this be cool? And then you just do it,
right?
And you just like do it, and you slap it together, and you pull out the duct tape, and you figure it out, and all those types of things. So like the ignorance is bliss a little bit, in the early stages of all this stuff. And I also I look across the aisle too, right? Again, as like looking at younger promoters and stuff, and people building series, and I'm like, man, like it's got to be so cool to like not have crossed the threshold.
Yeah, they have all this time and money and willpower.
It's not even like time and money. It's like it's less glamorous than that, right? Like it's like the knowledge of like security positions, or things like that. And it's like once you like hit this point of like, hey, we require these many things,
right?
Like we've got more to protect, we've got more details to cover, we've got more expectations of ourselves, so it's like even thinking about the like the motorsports team, and having scrutineers for each class, and like and owning a dyno so that we can do appropriate scrutineering and all that type of stuff. So like so yeah, that's probably the hardest part, is that like there's so many details now, so like
you're at critical mass.
Moving it, when we're thinking about moving it or even launching a new event, you're like, you have all this stuff that you got to consider. So it almost be easier if you were like, hey, this is a Gridlife Presents, and it's a different thing,
I see, or
something, right? Yeah, it's got this like the spiritual element of it, but we're able to kind of think about it from a different perspective, because we're for better or worse, we've got like a bit of a formula.
That's fair.
And there's like stuff you have to hold up and keep consistent.
A formula and a full plate. I mean, I'm looking at your schedule here. You're going to have to axe some events if we're going international. There is no room on this calendar.
Yeah.
You mentioned the sprint to Midwest, and I see so many things still coming up before then. It's kind of shocking that you have this time. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely, well, we talk about that too, right? Because like it is that like kind of critical moment in, just the growth of the community, where there, like there was a few the pandemic kind of like reset stuff too a little bit, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
after that, we like got back into like being a little bit more opportunistic, which is when we kind of like did our coast to coast expansion too. So we get presented with like opportunities all the time where it's like, hey, we're building this new track. We'd love for you guys to be the debut event.
Wow,
We're
that's a
like,
nice
hey,
offer.
yeah, we'd love for you to come to, insert racetrack here. At some point it was like, yes, that sounds sick. And now we're kind of in this point of like real refinement. Like one of the strategy points for this year is like more isn't better, better is better.
Mm,
But that's a hard thing to like understand what it means until you're like in it,
for sure.
you
I
know?
get that.
So yeah, like, I mean, I don't know, like as far as the schedule goes, like this year we had 11 events last year split between the festival tour and the club rounds. Now this year we've kind of like put the club weekend concept a little bit backburnered. So like every event has a spectator opportunity. They're all not necessarily music festivals, but they're all intended to be, public facing, where last year the club rounds weren't really public facing. They were just kind of track days. And again, once you put the path in motion, you're on it, like you're on the train. So, but yeah, I mean, like the schedule's always going to adjust. So will it be 9 events forever?
Yeah, fair.
Maybe not. Maybe it'll be 5 and then 11 little ones, or maybe it'll be one big one or 3 big international ones. North America and 2 other countries, and then a bunch of affiliates.
If you come to Canada, I'm bringing so much food to the event for you. It's unbelievable. Your hat reminded me of something. Sorry, what were you saying about Canada? Don't let me cut you off.
No, I was saying Canada has been like on the finish line a couple times, so like not it's not currently a part of the chat, but we've had a few conversations,
So
and
close,
we have
but
a big,
so far.
yeah, it's all like, yeah, just time and opportunity. And like if you take a new opportunity, you have to like put another thing down.
Yeah, man. Timing is everything in this industry, I think. Your hat kind of prompts something. Someone in our production department actually brought this up. Mike, who used to be at FCP Euro, is your new CEO. Am I not? Was that correct?
Yeah.
Does that give you more time to focus on new initiatives, kind of giving some of the burden, or maybe burden's the wrong word, some of the Atlas shouldering, as you put it earlier, to someone else?
It will. It's not necessarily like I mean, in some regards, yes, it definitely has, right? Like there's certain areas of the business that like I'm not in the weeds on, but there's other areas where like the new perspective and new strategy has created like new work together. So in the long haul, it certainly will. But there's a lot of like future planning that he's brought to the table, that not that we weren't doing before, but Adam and I both are like executors. We're planners as well, but like, we're pretty in the weeds.
Mm-hmm.
So what Michael's really brought is like a perspective around the long game.
Love that.
So like, because I think even, I think some other podcast I was talking about, it's like, so, what's your goals? I was like, I don't know. I blew through it, like whatever that goal was, I like ripped past it. And now I'm just kind of like sprinting, and taking, opportunities as they come, and like gut feeling, like against things. So, that's just one of the different perspectives that Michael brings. And then just like a different level of, some might call it rigidity. He would call it discipline. Like to the, to the perspective of the decisions that we make and the things that we do. It's made some things easier. It hasn't made anything harder, but it's really about like next year things should be significantly easier.
Cool, man.
For me, or I'll have like a little bit more headspace to like, do less of everything, if that makes sense.
Nice.
Well, hopefully you have more time to, Listen to Fish.
to expand to Canada.
I listen to a lot. I listen to a lot of Fish.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
Or
awesome.
or I go to a lot of concerts. So like that.
Hell yeah.
That's a.
So speaking about Fish, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, but yeah, so you hold concerts at your events, and like how does that take away, like, what type of planning do you have to do for like a concert festival type event versus just strictly a car show? Like what, like there, I feel like there's a whole different aspect to that area.
Yeah, it's a hard balance to figure out, right? So like because the festival production world and like the structure of festivals is, you know, significantly different than the structure of like motorsports events or sporting events, right? And there's shared attributes between them, you know, but yeah, it's a whole nother like whole bunch of layers to it, you know. So like especially when you do things, you know, at the scale that we're doing them, or that we're attempting to do them.
Yeah.
Because you've got, you know, national touring acts, you've got real production, you know, so, and not to say that like other events don't have real production, you know, but it's not just like a competent DJ Steve and you know, you're, you know, like a basic lighting kit. These are like really elaborate, you know,
oh yeah, dude. I saw Keys and Crates play. It was a lot.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, wait till you see our stage this year. So
oh boy,
it's like it's a custom built SCAF stage. It's like one of a kind. So for it'll remain to be seen if like that effort is worth it. But it's very, very cool.
That is cool.
So, but yeah, like and it requires like a whole. Like just for example, like that stage, you know, that's a 50 person build.
Holy.
You know, like so that's labor, you know, and like schedules and like all of it we have to do. So all that stuff has to be engineered, and then it has to be approved through, you know, and engineering, you know, approval flow, and it's got to be wind rated, and like that's what I mean by like the layers of stuff.
It's a lot
when
of
you're
moving
talking
parts,
about like
sure.
the more you know. You know, because it'd be easy to be like, yo, I'm gonna throw this party with my buds, you know.
Yeah, just build a stage. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna rent this stage from, you know, wherever, you know, and this, that, and the other thing, and you put it together, and it's also hard, you know, like that's not easy either. But as you like scale stuff up, it gets so much more complex, and then you know more. Right. Like, so you understand like implications of errors or implications of things going wrong, or like the type of additional coverage that you need. And, you know, like even Midwest Festival, because we have EDM, right? EDM brings a certain, you just got to be ready for like the audience that's going to attract. Right. So that means, you know, your security staff's 125 bodies.
Yeah.
Holy,
you know, moly. And then you've got camping, right? So you're keeping people safe for
right,
24 hours a day for 4 days. You know, and then you like know that because I mean, like, I don't know, like the first 2 years we're like, I got 3 security guards. It'll be fine, probably, right? You know, like, and then you know what you need, and you feel how much easier it is. You know, or you don't have, you know, you're able to like set down the anxiety of like worrying about those pieces, and then that's it. You already know that you can't go backwards. So not glamorous necessarily, but like, yeah, it's you know, it's a lot, and I think it's easy to like kind of look at us and not see the totality of like all the work that goes into these events.
Yeah,
but it's
crazy.
It's a ton of work.
No, having held our own events, I don't envy anyone in the large event or large scale event business at all.
Events are hard. Yeah, it's a really difficult business for sure. You know, because it's there's so much variability, and there's so much fluctuation, and you know, you get bad weather, especially if you're like an event that's relying on gate.
Oh, 2015
you know, like,
Gingerman. I was swimming in my tent.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Like, I don't know. Like we're hoping for a nice little 3-week run up, you know, but like 10 days out, people are going to be refreshing the, you know, that weather.com and kind of starting to make some decisions.
That's fair enough.
You know?
Well, we want to be respectful of your time. Obviously, you stay pretty busy. I can see just by this slight glimpse behind the mirror of how much is going on at any given moment. We want to give you the last question here is, what can you tell us about the future of Gridlife as of this moment? Are there things, as a follow-up question, are there things that you can't say that you think are pretty exciting?
There's definitely things that I can't say that are like, again, on the finish line that I can't that I can't talk about.
Of course.
Quite a few, honestly. You
Oh,
know,
cool.
So, and I think a lot of that, you know, like, yeah, back to kind of the Michael Hershon question, you know, so having him in the mix like allows is additional assistance in prioritizing those things and like looking at the whole opportunities of that type of stuff. So not that that didn't happen before, you know, but I'm a very emotional individual, you know, so like I lead with my heart, you know, and like with my gut, which is still 70% of the decision making process, but like but yeah, you know, like so there's a ton of stuff that are like big moves, you know, that I can't talk about right now.
Fair enough.
You know, that are like in the mix. So like
Sick.
yeah, some as soon as next year, some a little bit longer play. You know, but we're trying to get like everything. We're trying to get everything organized. So we're trying to like slow down to speed up, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
right? So,
relatable.
yeah, so we're trying to slow down to speed up, which means, you know, like an example of things is like this year, HPDE has been like a part of our ethos since the beginning, but this year is the first year we're not really doing any HPDE.
Oh,
and it's not because we don't want to, it's because everything else got so complicated that we actually weren't doing anything unique or like really serving that audience. So it's like pausing that so that we can pull it back in front of us, really think about what we can bring to the table for like that type of you know, of an audience or like that contribution to the automotive community, and then like redoing it and relaunching it, you know, in a more strategic way. So there's a bunch of that type of stuff going on, right? Like we had a big boom in esports during the pandemic. We were kind of ahead of the curve. We were doing game night at SEMA and like had all this interconnected competition stuff, you know, and then you know, that kind of like sunset a little bit, you know, so we're talking about like some of those types of things and, you know, stuff like that. None of those are related to the two bigger or the bigger things that I was alluding to, but there's a bunch of that, you know, type of stuff. So so yeah, like more isn't better is better. Sustainable evolution, it's our goal to be around and still be contributing to this community for you know, a decade from now.
Love
so
that.
Putting the right pieces in place and thinking about those things so that you know, we're continuing to contribute and innovate and build you know, a stronger community you know, for car culture as a whole, you know, into the next 10 years.
Yeah, and I mean, following up with that, like from the community, thank you for putting on such a great event, like like a weekend getaway, pretty much.
It's still my favorite memory, with like people I had met for the first time and like just getting into cars, more or less, like car person, but like so not knowledgeable, and going to this Gingerman is literally my favorite event memory ever, and that's 10 years ago, which makes me feel so old. But then to follow up with something you just said too, the SEMA game night, favorite thing I've ever done at SEMA also. Like just I think you've hit the nail on the head with the cultural mark and the target audience, so kudos to you guys.
Thanks, man. I mean, and it's always shifting, right? So like, yeah, and I'm not getting any younger either, you know. So like and just inevitably like your preferences change and your push changes a little bit, right? Like so you know, and as you know, just from a business owner perspective, as like you're holding more stuff up, you know, so like it gets a little bit harder to innovate as you get deeper into, you know, the story that you're building. You know, but we're committed to that. That's what we've like always done first, and it's not about being the biggest, you know, it's about being the best at what we do and making sure that what we do is contributing, you know, in a way that is, you know, adjacent to the things that other people are bringing to the table, right? We're not trying to copy, clone, or replicate anything. We're trying to be, you know, our own vibe. So.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I think that's a benefit of juggling all the things, you know, it's a lot of work, but you're juggling all these things at once, and you kind of have this evergreen nature. Like I came into Gridlife being the biggest drifting fan ever, and now I'm all about race cars and time attack 10 years later. So it's cool to see he's still super relevant to anyone in this scene, I would say.
Yeah.
If you don't like Gridlife, what the hell are you doing? Are you watching this and don't know what Gridlife is? Get out from under your rock. Come to an event.
I mean, well, I think that's like an interesting point too. So not that there are people that don't like Gridlife, but like there's also like a legacy of like the Gridlife that people remember, the Gridlife that we are, like some points of change and things of that nature. And it's like we moved the stage from Midwest this year, so we moved it to Spectator Hill, and we did that because the new stage is too large for the previous location.
Wait,
right? So
what?
it literally doesn't fit where the stage used to be. So and that's like kind of setting stuff up for the future, right? Because we need to build more infrastructure and like have just a little bit stronger facility and a more manageable facility anyway. But like we made that announcement, we're like, get stoked, and people are like, I like it the way it used to be. Why are you changing it?
Oh no. Honestly, you've blown my mind with that information.
People get familiar, they get comfortable, and so that's like a little bit of the burden of like everybody has a story, so it's an honor to be be able to produce these memories and these experiences and these connections that people have with the events and the racetrack and car culture and the friends that they make and all that type of stuff. But it's also like a super heavy responsibility. So that gets like again, I'm an emotional individual, so I read all those comments. And
oh no, stay out of the comments, dude.
I know, but I don't read them in that way where I'm like reacting to each of them. But the sentiment is important to me, so it doesn't always like drive our decisions. But it's like, I think it's a part of it, right? You can't be blinded by it, and you can't react to all that stuff. But you need to like have your ear to the ground, and understand what people are thinking about and what they might want, and then try to let that influence stuff, but.
Yeah, I feel like you can't ignore the community, because that's when you turn into more of like a corporation, like where
an outsider.
You're a business instead of being for the people sort of thing. So I love the fact that you do read the comments, whereas you definitely don't have a lot of free time, but you're still engaging with the community and trying to see what people want to see and what people want to get out of your events, which is only going to make everything better.
I mean, it's always been a hard line to walk, and we definitely like walk it, and especially as the series matures and as like, inevitably like the motorsports professionalizes a little bit more. Like we have no, in nowhere in our roadmap is it our goal to be a pro racing series, like in the traditional form, right? Like we're not chasing, any of those things at the top, but the competition's real and the builds are real. And the ecosystem, and the partners that are investing in it and the amount of time that the drivers are investing in it, is all real. So like that just, that's a business. There's an economy within it. So it's just that dance between like, being sustainable and being the cool kids and the middle ground between it, so but yeah, hard line to walk, but yeah, I mean I think we'll always kind of err on the side of for the people.
Amen. Yeah, one successful decade down and a handful more to go, right?
Let's hope.
So how soon are we gonna see Fish at a Gridlife? Like, come on.
I don't think I would cross pollinate those worlds, right? So a deeper story, which like when I do sometimes I do press and podcasts and things on the music side of the house, and then that's a big topic of conversation.
Oh yeah.
But like I saw Fish really aging myself, but the first show I saw was in 1994. I was in 10th grade, and so I've seen 270 something.
Did you see them at the Sphere?
I did. I went to the Sphere. I just got back from Hollywood Bowl, so I saw them 3 nights at the Hollywood Bowl like a few weeks ago.
Sick.
But like those first festival experiences in like the late 90s, were like so influential to me as like a just out of high school kid on these like, cross road trip adventures. And I was into cars too. We did the whole like summer tour in like my lowered CRX, me and my buddy Luke,
Sick.
so we're like ripping the mountain roads and then going to, Wook out at the fish show or whatever, in the Carolinas and stuff. So, but those music experiences and that like kind of connected music community, especially like a band like Fish or Grateful Dead or like anything that's like got this cult like ethos behind them, like there's a lot of that influence that goes into how I like think about how the Gridlife community connects to each other, right? So it's not parallel one-to-one where like, these music experiences do this and we do that, but like it definitely like shares a intention.
Yeah, that's a cool parallel. I like that.
Yeah,
sick.
You're gonna have the deadheads, the grid heads in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, like it's even like Bonnaroo or like any of the modern music festivals, like there's a lot of people that like go to those, for 5 years in a row, and they have people that they've met there and they like reconnect, just at that one experience or just at Bonnaroo each year or just at wherever, so it's similar. It just happens to be that like our festival grounds are racetracks all over the country.
That's really cool, man.
It's beautiful.
On that note, I'm looking forward to catching up with you again, at least at Midwest. I'm hoping Lime Rock as well. We'll be out there racing, so I'll come say hey at some point.
Yeah.
Chris,
absolutely.
We really appreciate you joining us here today. It's been a pleasure as always.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for your time.
Hopefully we'll see you soon, man.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Best
for
of
sure.
luck.
Thanks, guys.
See you later, man.
Yep. Cheers.
Okay.